We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live. Well. The prices are in. DAZN has officially announced their price point for the upcoming Turki Ring Fatal Fury cards. 2 different fights, 2 different price points. In this video, I'm going to take you through it. Ryan Garcia is the headliner of one, and Canelo. Payday, you'll want payday. I know that. Alvarez is the headliner of the other particular card. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. Well, what do we have here? So DAZN just came out and they made it official. As we gear up for their upcoming fights in May, back-to-back fights, we now learn the price point for said fight. So real quick, Ryan Garcia will be fighting Rolando Rolly Romero, and in that fight, both guys have knockout power, so there's a great chance you could see a knockdown or knockout, right? Co-main is Devin Haney, and he's going to be facing off against Jose Ramirez. And then rounding off the card, Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza. For the Canelo card, you have Canelo Alvarez, and he's going to be fighting against William Skull, which we'll come back to that. We'll definitely come back to that. And the card has Badu Jack. He was supposed to fight someone else, but then the guy got injured or whatever, so they switched it, and now he's fighting Ryan Rozicki. Don't even know who that is. Jaime Munguia, he just got knocked out in his last fight against the Frenchman, so he's rematching that guy, kind of a do or die fight. Bruno Surace, so it's that rematch. Martin Bacoli, who was brutally knocked out earlier this year by Joseph Parker, he's fighting F.A. Ajagba, but not for an eliminator. We'll get back to that. Brian Leon versus Aaron Rocha Guerrero. I don't even know who that is. And then you have a fighter who's out of the Olympics that's signed with Canelo named Marco Verde, and he's making his debut against Michael Galvin Polina. Wow. So the official price point for these particular cards have been revealed, and they are $59.99 a piece. So Ryan Garcia fighting Rolly, Devin Haney fighting against Jose Ramirez, Teofimo fighting against Barboza. It costs you $60 when you round it up with taxes, right? $59.99. And the Canelo Williams Skull card is $59.99. So they're doing back-to-back fights, right? Meaning Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the first 2, Friday and Saturday, they're 2 separate pay-per-view price points. They will also have a bundled option. The bundle option is if you want to buy both the Friday and Saturday card, Ryan card, and the Canelo card, you could do that, and they'll take the price down to $89.99, which is $90, right? $90. So that is also an option if you know for a fact that you are going to be buying both cards anyway. You would save yourself a little bit of money, but that's still $44 and change, $45, right? So instead of paying $59.99, you're paying $45 a piece for those 2 cards, even with the bundle deal. My opinion I knew y'all was waiting for that. My opinion is this is not really that good. I don't feel like it's a banger of a card, right? Like let's really break down the card, right? Now, as a boxing fan, some people are just going to be happy because boxing is on. But those same people a lot of times won't even pay for the fight. So I'm not really referring to that. I'm talking about the people who patronize the sport of boxing, support the sport of boxing, because if you're pirating, then your opinion don't even matter because you're not supporting it anyway. So I'm talking about value for paying customers. I want to be clear. Paying customers. Again, the reason being, if you are illegally pirating the fight card, then your vote doesn't count anyway because you're streaming it illegally. So it's not supporting the event. Couple different issues. We'll start from the top. Let's look at the card. So the card is, you got Ryan Garcia and Rolly, who both lost to Tank by knockout. And that's your main event. Ryan comes off a good performance that was pretty much erased when he tested positive with Osterine. So Ryan is on a year-plus layoff, right? And he's been inactive, and he's coming off a PED fail. They give him the main event, right? So he's the main event with Rolly. Rolly's last fight with Jaime, his name is something Jaime, right? And the dude was pretty durable. It goes the distance, and I wouldn't say it was a special performance from Rolly, right? Then you seen the same guy, the Manuel Jaime guy or whatever. He fought Abdullah Mason after that point, and he's a total prospect, brand new in the game, prospect in the game, and he destroys that dude. So, and then before that, Rolly got beat by Pitbull Cruz by stoppage, and then before that, I believe was Ishmael Barroso. And then a few fights before that, he got knocked out by Tank. So that is your main event, right? Is that really main event worthy? Fight that people are interested in because of the names and knockout power? Sure. But $60 pay-per-view? I don't know, right? Then Devin Haney did all this lawsuit and whatnot, only to drop the lawsuit to get the Ryan Garcia rematch and fight on Ryan's undercard. So I wouldn't say the Haney stock is as high as it has been in the past. We'll just say that, right? You did all this complaining, and now you're fighting on Ryan's undercard. Then you're fighting a guy who's coming directly off of a loss, Jose Ramirez. I'm not talking about, oh, I think he lost. Like, it's a literal loss. Like, you lost to Arnold Barbosa, who's also on this card, right? So you have them fighting, and it's at a catch weight, right, of 144 as of me recording this video. I did do a video because Robert Garcia came out and said that Devin Haney's team wants to up the weight, but Devin Haney came out and said that's not true. So as far as what we know, the weight class is 144 pounds, a catch weight. So you have a catch weight fight, even though Devin is supposed to fight Ryan Garcia at welterweight 147. Ryan's fighting Rolly. That's another thing I didn't add. Ryan's fighting Rolly at welterweight. Neither guy has fought as welterweight, right? And then if the goal is to match Ryan Garcia, Haney part 2, why would Devin just not fight at welterweight just like Ryan is? You know what I mean? If you're trying to prepare for the Ryan rematch, you might as well go all in and just move up, give your body a break, give your weight cut, you know, less of a weight cut, and just fight at 147. But for whatever reason, and keep in mind, in that video, I let you guys listen to the clip. You guys should really watch that video. Robert Garcia says he likes the fight at 147. So it's not like Ramirez is like, hey, no, 144, this is what I agreed to, I won't go higher. his own trainer is saying that he likes the fight with Devin at 147. He thinks that would benefit them. So to me, the catch weight in this instance doesn't really even make sense if the goal is for Ryan and Haney to rematch, right? Why are you fighting at a catch weight? Why not move up? So that's an anomaly that we haven't figured out and got it to make sense. I do not understand that one bit, why that fight would be had at 144. Then you got Teofimo. He's coming off the Steve Claggett performance where he didn't really look that great. It wasn't like a starstruck event or anything. He fought Steve Claggett and couldn't stop him. He didn't look that great. So the only person on this whole card that has true momentum, I would say, is Barbosa, because he's on a win streak. You know, Rolly had the one fight where he looked, okay with the Jaime's dude, but then before that he lost, right? Ryan, I've already went over: inactivity, failed drug test, erased fight, overturned, sideline, had some personal demons. So to charge $60 for this card, to me, it's not those type of fight, right? You could maybe want to watch it as a boxing fan, but this is not like must-see TV. And then Teofimo brought this up, and I started thinking about it. Who else is on the card? Like, is it just 3 fights? So you're like, just hear what I'm saying. Hear me out. You're charging $60, $59.99 plus surcharges and taxes. And $60, the only fights we know about in Times Square, which is, they changed it and said it's closed off to the public, right? And it's invite only. The only fight is that we know about are 3 fights that I just listed for $60. So you're paying $20 a fight. I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but 20 times 3 is 60. So for Ryan's fight, you're paying $20. For Devin Haney's fight, you're paying $20. And for Teo's, you're paying $20. Because we don't know anything else about another portion of the card or anything else. I mean, and if you guys do, please tell me what's on that. At one point, they were talking about Martin Bakole, F.A. Ajagba, but that was supposed to be part of the triple header. Since that point, F.A. Ajagba, he was supposed to fight Bakole, but they pulled Bakole and he gets knocked out brutally by Joseph Parker. And then now he's fighting on Canelo's card. So again, we're talking about value. 3 fights for $60, that's $20 a pop, and none of them are like sure shot guaranteed classics. We've seen David Benavidez and David Morrell fight earlier this year, right? And it had a good diverse card, undercard. So I don't really see the value in $60 for that. But even worse, because the triple header I do want to see, because there's elements, basically Ryan and Devin, I think it's important to see where they're at given the controversy from their first fight. So there is a bit of that, and I'm not saying the fights are bad or terrible, but we're just talking about, is it worth $60 value, bang for your buck? But even worse, Canelo Alvarez versus William Skull. This is like literally a soft touch tune-up fight. I don't care about Skull having the IBF belt. As a consumer, that's not, I've never, ever was about to buy a fight and then I go to DirecTV or go to my computer desktop and I decided against buying a pay-per-view that I thought I was going to buy because there was no belt on the line. This is never happened. There's no one that really does that, right? There's nobody that is like, hey, I think I want to see Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia pay-per-view. But there's no belt on the line for that fight, given the fact that it's at a catch weight and given the fact that, there's weight stipulations or whatever. So now I'm not going to order the fight. It literally has never happened. It's never ever happened, and it never will happen. So the whole defining moment, or like the whole selling point for Canelo Skull, is to fake build up a Terrence Crawford fight in September by putting the only other obstacle so Canelo can try to become 2X undisputed, right? So you put him in with the only missing link belt guy, but he's unheard of, unknown. $60 for that. Then Badu Jack, he's been MIA. He hasn't really had no fight. And then on top of that, you couldn't even keep his initially announced opponent. That fell out. That fell apart. And then Jaime Munguia versus Sudase, like, that was a fight that nobody was checking for. Nobody. That's why it was such an upset when he got knocked out by Sudase, because nobody expected much from it. Jaime Munguia had a busy year that year, and he just randomly got knocked out, right? Canelo didn't even knock him out when they fought. So that's why people are surprised by it, because this was just a random name thrown at him, and seemingly the guy don't have no power on paper, so no one really expected or thought that Munguia would get knocked out. So really, you're putting him in a struggle fight that he shouldn't have lost, now in a do or die fight after he got knocked out, and you're slapping the pay-per-view price point on that, right? Like, as if fans are gonna be dumb and naive. What do I mean? Munguia, when he fought Sudase, I just went over it. Nobody was checking for that fight. And guess what? It was on free ESPN, regular ESPN. So now, because you put him in and he's part of Canelo's gym and he's Mexican, you got two Mexican fighters fighting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where they don't even celebrate Cinco de Mayo, right? That is not even an observed holiday. So it takes away from the whole spirit of the event. The whole purpose, the only place that really celebrates Cinco de Mayo is America, right? So it makes sense to throw Canelo's fight card in Las Vegas, in Texas, in LA, in America in general, because that's where the holiday is observed. But to put him in Saudi Arabia, in an Islamic country where they don't even celebrate Cinco de Mayo, it doesn't, there's no need for it. Canelo could have fought on any date if he was just going to sell out for cash, right? He could have, why is he fighting on May 2nd? He could have fought on May 21st or whatever that Saturday is, right? So that doesn't make sense, right? To put all these Mexican fighters on a quote unquote Mexican date, but then take them out the country. Unless you were going to take them to Mexico, that would make sense, because, you know, it would still be 2-3 guys from, because you got Canelo's Marco Verde guy on there too, right? So none of this really makes sense. And again, you just went from seeing Munguia get knocked out by someone he wasn't supposed to get knocked out by, and it was on regular ESPN, but now it's behind a paywall. You have to get the pay-per-view. And then a lot of the other names aren't even recognizable names. I went over them in this particular video. So this card is even worse. Marco Verde, we don't know him just because Canelo's co-signing him. And then the only other name fight is Martin Bakole, F.A. Ajagba. But as I mentioned, Bakole, we just watched him get knocked out brutally in 2 rounds because Turki tried to save his February 22nd card. And I told you guys that would be a mistake. That is not what you do in the sport of boxing. If you have fallouts last minute, and to be honest, there's a lot of suspect business. Daniel Dubois coincidentally pulls out the week of the fight, and now they're talking about he's fighting Alexander Usyk. So, and Usyk, right before that February 22nd card, he had started showing and expressing interest in wanting to rematch Daniel Dubois. So now I'm really questioning if they decided not to chance fighting a spoiler like Joseph Parker and said he was sick and pulled him so they could do the Usyk fight. That's what it's looking like to me. Screwing over and jerking Joseph Parker out of a title opportunity, and then now coincident. Because here's the thing: if what I'm saying don't make sense, then why don't you run Joseph Parker versus Daniel Dubois next, right? I get it. Okay, you said he was sick, so reschedule it. But they're not gonna reschedule it because they're gonna go straight into the Usyk fight with Daniel Dubois. So to me, that sounds smirkish. That sounds maney. That sounds like a scheme. I mean, I shouldn't have to lay out everything for y'all. I'm from the Bay, man. And the Bay Area, it teaches you to keep your head on a swivel. And I feel like a lot of y'all don't know when to spot a scheme when people are scheming. And to me, that seems too schemy that Daniel Dubois coincidentally is ill. You don't reschedule the Joseph Parker fight, and he just moves on to fight Usyk, which looks like it's going to happen, right? So you got Bakole cooked for no reason. No reason. What was the point of doing that? That's why you don't do it to, quote, save the show, because now you took the value out of the fight. He was going to fight Efe Ajagba in Times Square, New York, before Teofimo was on the card, and it would have made sense because it would have been an IBF eliminator. Now that he got knocked out, it's not an IBF eliminator. They're just fighting. And regardless of that, is you've lessened it and took away some of the luster, because previously Bakole was looking like a boogeyman in the weight class, the heavyweight division, right? But his aura got stripped away when you see him get beat again, right? We seen him get beat by Michael Hunter, but this looked like a new and improved version of Bakole. And now watching him get knocked out brutally, it stripped away the whole aura he had going after the Jared Anderson fight and stringing up wins. And now he's off of a loss. So let's put it all together. They have some names on these cards, but what are they really giving you? Bakole off of a knockout loss. Jaime Munguia off of a knockout loss. And before that, a couple fights before that, a Canelo loss. So Canelo beat him, and then Surase knocked him out. So Munguia got beaten twice last year, right? Bakole got knocked out in his last fight, right? Canelo hasn't had a stoppage in a minute. Nobody knows William Skull. Devin Haney initially lost, right? Ryan's off a failed PED test and a year layoff for him and Devin. Jose Ramirez is off of a loss. And I mean, this is the card that they're selling you, two of them. And they're like, oh, back-to-back boxing. But now it's back-to-back charges on your debit card, right? Now it's back-to-back. It's $60 a pop, or you got to commit $89.99. And I've seen people, DAZN, they got to get their stuff together, because I've seen people, they've struggled to cancel. DAZN has different things in place where they'll lock you into a contract and you got to pay for a subscription, then pay for the pay-per-view. And it's just looking too crazy. Furthermore, I would be remiss if I didn't add this. DAZN it looks too crazy because they continue to pump fake, right? Where they'll say certain things and put this in the consumer's head, and then it's the old switcheroo, right? When they first came out, DAZN said, bye-bye pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is dead. And they put out commercials with Tracy Morgan. Now they're saying, oh, we got to do pay-per-views. Then why'd you come in the game lying, saying you weren't doing pay-per-views, right? Fast forward to the future. After that, you would think they learned their lesson. But after that, you have Turki Al-Sheikh, who says, boxing fans have been mistreated. I'm the savior of boxing. I'm going to bridge the gaps and da-da-da-da. But he's actively getting in the way of Benavidez getting an opportunity at Undisputed with Dimitri Bivol, right? But more importantly, as it relates to this situation, he said he wanted to reduce the pay-per-view price to $20 a pop. He said, you guys won't have to pay more than $20 anywhere because we got money like that in Saudi Arabia, and we don't want the consumer to have to incur the charges. So what happened to that? Bro, what happened to that? You see what I'm saying? What happened to that? I don't know about y'all, but for me, I can't respect no company that comes out putting out false promises and then doesn't stay true to that. Like, you literally came in the game saying you wanted to get the pay-per-view prices down, and then you have really not even a deserving pay-per-view card, Canelo versus Skull, and then guess what? Old switcheroo, $60, and you slap a $60 price point. And then here's the other thing. You guys went along with it, and Boxing Ego was like, hey, there's some other things to look at here. But you guys are like, no, Turkey saved boxing, da-da-da-da-da. And then you guys were saying stuff in the comment section like, yo, if you reduce the price, the price point to pay-per-views, by default, you'll get more pay-per-view sales. That's what you guys said. But that was proven false when Better Biev just fought Bivol, right? When Better Biev just fought Bivol a second time for Undisputed, they did abysmal numbers, 45,000 in America, it was reported, right? At the lower price point. So it proves what I've said from the beginning. Fans will invest and pay for what they want to pay. You know what I mean? Like the Michael B. Jordan movie Sinners. I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it in IMAX. I really want to go to San Francisco and watch it in the 70mm screen, right? I want to see the movie. I'm from the Bay. Ryan Coogler from the Bay. I want to support it. I like vampire movies as well, right? So I'm a support, period. I'm a support what I like. I'm a support what I want to support with my money, right? If another movie comes out and, oh, the critics' reviews say this is the best movie, but I don't want to see it, then guess what? I'm not going to do. I'm not going to support it. Pay-per-view is no different. If you're interested in the card and you see the value in the lineup and the roster of fights and it's good, you're going to pay for it. And that's what Turki and them have not figured out. Because Tank Davis, he'll mess around and fight Lamar Roach that nobody knows as well, like he wasn't a big name, and make a whole event out of it. But DAZN is struggling in this department. They have not been able to, and it's not just DAZN, it's really everyone except for PBC. They have not figured out a way to captivate the masses and turn over pay-per-view stars. The fight card is in a few weeks. You would think that it would be a bigger buzz for all of these fights. I haven't heard many people talk about Inoue's fight. No one's really talking about Canelo's Skull, right? And then you got Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney and Tio. You put all the Tank's contemporaries on one card. Again, breaking all your promises. You had people within your organization saying it was going to be an unlimited crowd, open to the public, and it was going to be a crazy event. Now you scaled that back because you realized what I said from the beginning, that would be insane to police and very dangerous and very hard to control an environment like that, right? You said you want to get the price point on pay-per-views down to $20, and then a few fights later, guess what? You don't make good on those promises. And then guess what? DAZN got Chris Eubank and Conor Benn coming up. So they're going to hit you on the head with another pay-per-view price. So you went from a company that said pay-per-view is dead to they're going to be dropping at least 3 pay-per-views pretty much in a month's time, right? And then you got to worry about subscribing and being locked into contracts and stuff like that. So really bizarre decision to go this route. Let me know what you guys think of the price point. Yeah, it's a little bit cheaper, but then it's also more frequent. Like PBC, they had a David Benavidez versus David Morrell card on pay-per-view, and that was the beginning of February. But then they gave you Tim Tszyu versus Joey Spencer. That card was free. Keith Thurman versus Jarvis Brock was free, etc., right? Versus DAZN, they went from saying they don't believe in pay-per-views to definitely being pay-per-view heavy. And then I guess their claim to fame is like, hey, cheap. It's a little bit cheaper, so that means good. That means value, right? That means value. Another thing that they said Ryan was fighting Pitbull Cruz, which would have made the card bigger, in my opinion. And then they did the old switcheroo with that. So for me, DAZN got a lot of switcheroos. You went from Ryan fighting against Pitbull. That's what Turki said. Then it turned out it was Rolly. You said F.A. Ajagba was fighting Martin Bakole in the IBF Eliminator on the Times Square card. Then you pulled him for the Joseph Parker fight to get splattered, right? You said you're going to get pay-per-views down to $20. That turns out that's not true. You see what I'm saying? So DAZN is not doing a good job of building great faith with the customer base, because the things that they say, they don't make good on. And then finally, Canelo was supposed to fight an event with Jake Paul in Las Vegas, in America, where we know it would have had a crazy crowd and it would have been an attraction. People would have flew out to go see it, just like they did for Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, just like they did for Canelo Alvarez's other fight. When I said I'd rather see that than William Skull, some people tried to laugh and I guess roast me, like, oh, how would you rather see it? I'd rather see it. Even people are like, oh, it's not a boxing fight. I don't care what fight it is. It's an event that would generate a lot of money and attraction to the sport. And people were saying that they don't like Jake Paul, so it would give Canelo an opportunity to end his run, you know what I mean, and beat him. So no matter how you slice it, it would have been a bigger event for the sport of boxing by keeping Canelo. But Turki and the Saudis lured Canelo over to Saudi Arabia to overpay him to put up events like this and then charge the consumer and try to, make this make sense. And you were better off probably just letting PBC and Netflix and Jake Paul have Canelo Alvarez, because I guarantee you these numbers are going to be poor. And the funny thing is, you're messing up other people's metrics, because for me, the Ryan Garcia card, if I had to choose, the Ryan Garcia card is far superior to the Canelo card. So if I had to buy one, I would rather buy the Ryan Garcia one. So you have a guy who's supposed to be the face of boxing in Canelo. Ryan is supposed to be the little bro, but we could very well see that the Ryan Garcia fight outperforms, that card outperforms and outsells Canelo Alvarez. So that is a bad look in terms of who Canelo's supposed to be and him getting outsold by Ryan again, because he did get outsold by Ryan when Ryan fought Gervonta Davis, which makes sense. That was the biggest fight that year. But it's like Canelo don't care as long as he's getting paid. And the Saudis seem like, haha, I got him. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got him, but at what cost? And then now you're trying to throw the cost on the consumer, and fans didn't really ask for this. Fans have been wanting to see Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez. You're not giving us that. You're giving us some random Cuban guy that looked like Omarion that nobody know. Man, I'm out. We unpack.